Hello guys and welcome for another Aeternum video. It's been a while since my last video of Aeternum, but unfortunately there was nothing to be discussed and therefore I just decided to wait for the next potential content, which is basically 2 weeks ahead of us, and this will come with Season 8. In this season we are expecting not only the artifacts that we will check up today, but we can also have some previews for different game modes and of course different maps, which should be nice, at least to test, and therefore I'm really excited for that season. So without wasting more of your time, let's check the upcoming artifacts and will they be a replacement to the current ones, and if any of those will be a game changer for the meta. The first one, as we can see, is the Old Crown, which is a medium headpiece. If we look into the details of it, we can see that it has a passive called Royal, which will provide us with 10 to 0 attributes. This already gives me a nostalgia about the attuned leather pants, as this is technically the same concept of an artifact with the additional 40 magnify on top. Of course, if this is exactly the same piece but just on the head, it would not make big a difference. But then, looking a little bit under this, we can also see that the gem slot is named as Energizing Spectral Ward, and it provides I cannot even read that, but anyway, Onyx, which will provide 3% physical absorption, and then Opal for 3% elemental absorption. Now the usual ones, the usual gems, provide 2.5%, and if the gem is Runeglassed, it provides 2%. We can already see that this is above the normal, and we don't even know if this will be combined or it will be separate. Regardless, I think that if that is the case, basically this crown will replace the attuned leather pants. Going on to the next one, the Vampire's Vestments. It's a light chest piece stated to be designed for mages and lifesteal builds. Now, to be fair, I don't really believe that too much, because looking into the specialty of it, which is called Drain, hitting a target will consume 10 mana. If mana is spent this way, that will grant you a 10% lifesteal. If using a magical weapon, only the abilities will trigger lifesteal, while basic attacks will restore 10 mana. Now, if we have to compare this with the already existing light pieces of gear that are used for mages, we can already see that it will be hard, to compare featherweight, for example. It will be hard to compare the high DPS coming from the winged leather shoes. I didn't add here Nature's Wrath, but I know that many people are enjoying it even with the nerf. We also can add even Ghostly Touch, which provides us a huge boost potential of damage. So to be fair, this here I don't really think that it will be a huge replacement to the mages. But there is a really one big but. And that is because this consumption of mana can be manipulated, in my opinion, and the melee users, for example hatchets, spears, swords, if they use a secondary magical weapon, they will have an access to the mana bar. I'm not even sure if they run 2 melees, if they will still have the access to the mana bar, but I'm really concerned about this piece there, because if they spend mana on hit, this means that they would have 10% lifesteal for their next 10 hits. And if they run a Shirking Heal combined with Healthy Toast build, it wouldn't be a problem for them to drink some mana potions, so they can keep on refreshing the Healing Breeze effect, and additionally to have mana so they can trigger this lifesteal effect. This is something that has to be really a big concern. And another really small niche detail is that the Great Axe, the artifact Great Axe Abyss, should that be considered as a magical weapon, or should that be still considered as a melee weapon? So those are my concerns for this one, and to be fair, that's why I said that I'm not really agreeing with it. I don't think that this is suitable for mages, but it would be mostly suitable for melees and maybe some, funky combinations. Let's go to the next one. We have the Lich Gloves. Those are again light-handed piece, which means that can be used for either light or medium. Also for heavy, but not, you know, suitable to go with light piece on a heavy. So we have here that those gloves are a perfect fit for spellcasters who love to stack power before unleashing a flurry of light attacks. Time your bursts well to maximize the empower bonuses before your next strike. The curse, which is the main source of the empower in that case, will activating an ability will give us 4% empower for 7 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. It's not mentioned if we change the weapons, if we will keep the empower, but I would assume that we will do, since it's an empower coming from our armors and not the weapons. However, thinking about it second time, I'm not really sure who is actually spamming all of his 3 abilities to then start attacking, and the second part of the description is also kind of the killer here, where it says that the all stacks of empower are lost on a basic attack. And then you cannot even gain new stacks for 5 seconds after you just lost them. Which means, let's theorize a little bit, which means that if I use a fireball into Pillar of Fire and then instantly Meteor Shower, or you can of course shuffle this combo in any way, and then I decide to make a heavy attack, I would straight up lose my all of the empower straight up after my attack. I really don't think that this is a suitable artifact, and to be fair, again, trying to match it with Ghostly Touch, Winged Leather Shoes, the Nature's Rat, which is not even here, but also with Featherweight, I really cannot see the use of those gloves, and the most sad thing here is that I was expecting exactly this piece of an artifact to be extremely powerful and to finally make the mage really strong, but I guess it would not be that season. Then we go to the next one. We have the Runic Greaves. Those are a heavy boots which will provide us with 33% movement speed for 7 seconds after we activate a heart rune. Yeah, that's about it. That's it. 33% movement speed after you use your heart rune, which means somewhere around once per minute or something like that. I really cannot see the potential of this one. I really cannot imagine that someone will prefer to replace his tumbler feet wraps if he's playing in medium, for example, like the typical bruiser do, or he will change his void dark plate if he's playing in heavy, or even in medium of course, or he will change Ironheart. I really cannot even see the potential with this 33% movement speed that you will do. And if we have to go to the top tier of PvP, which should be considered as a war experience, most of the bruisers use their detonates as heart runes, and they are used to kill people with, really nice synchronization. If you use this and you get movement speed, you are still on the same spot because you want to explode together with your buddies. You don't want to run away after you use your detonate. But again, I don't know guys, maybe somebody will find a use of it. Of course, here we are not really talking into too much specifics about OPRs or arenas, so maybe this specific boots will be really good there, who knows? Or maybe they will be good in the capture the flag because you can zoom yourself to the flag and then run back to your own base. Going on to the next one, we have the Chaos, which is the new blunderbuss, and as the description explains it, a brutal weapon for area denial and explosive mayhem. Chaos turns blast shot into a battlefield nuke, flying ignited enemies through enemy lines for devastating cleave potential. Now this really sounds epic, and if I read that somewhere in a book I would probably, get some goosebumps. But going into the details of it, we can see that the blast usually is now Chaos Blast, and basically it explains the difference. Blast shot will now gain 300% push distance. The first target hit is ignited and becomes a projectile, dealing 50% weapon damage to all the enemies they pass through. Now, if we have to base that with some regular numbers in game, of course, the usual damage of a blunderbuss for someone who would use it really close would be between 1.6 to 1.8. This would mean that if you hit the first target, it's not really mentioned how much damage it is, and I don't really remember by heart the initial damage of the blast shot, but every other person that this, burning, human or whatever you want to call it, flying, will deal 50% of your weapon damage, which means around 800 damage. Now let's assume that we have a maximum in power of 50%. That would be between 1000 to 1200 damage, taking in consideration all the different armor values and reduction of damage of your opponents. Now, I don't want to sound too pessimistic, but this doesn't really get me, like there is no explosive mayhem here. It feels like a little bit off. It would definitely serve a purpose where people were so far playing on the edge of a bridge where they throw spears and they try to push themselves out. Now you have a second weapon that can be used for such purpose. Instead of pulling people or pushing them back with a spear, you can do that with a blunderbuss. Definitely a nice choice. I don't think that the current pestilence will be ever replaced by this specific cannon blast blunderbuss, but who knows? We will find out in just some weeks. Going over to the next potential candidate of a replacement of a meta, and I'm saying this without any jokes of course behind it, I actually think that this one may be the one that will be used, but unfortunately I'm not too qualified to prove you because technically I don't really play that much PvE anymore, and I lost my diploma for a certified PvE player. But looking into the longsword, which is called Wit, Wit is a cleave twister on a classic tank play, amplifying threat generation and pushing foes who dare strike back. Its ensued-laced edge draws aggro like a magnet while softening incoming blows. Now again, this sounds really poemic, but let's go into the details of it, and we can see that the taunts are active. Light attack critical hits will generate 250% more threat, and on critical hit, reduce the AI base damage towards the tank or the one who is using this sword by 15% for 3 seconds. Now technically this means that if you manage to crit at least once every 3 seconds, you would basically guarantee yourself in the long run 15% less damage from the potential enemy that you are hitting. The only of course question is if there is a bigger clump and you are hitting one target, for example, I don't think that you are reducing the damage from the others, but of course we are not talking about clumps because this is usually a burst of clear which happens in few seconds, and we are mostly looking into those boss fights. I don't know if that's gonna be the one, guys, but I'm pretty sure that some PvE lords can definitely approve it or not, so we will see what they will go for. And of course, the last but not least, and probably the only artifact that will have some kind of implementation, at least to the testing level, that's gonna be the new tower shield called Relentless. As we know, we currently have one tower shield that is called the Wall, which gives some different bonuses, but of course it's not really team play, it's more about a solo play. And as we can see, the current bonus of the Wall is to gain 5% damage reduction, but you get 33% more stamina, and of course on top of that, the specialty is that you take 13% less damage from all types of elemental sources. Now if we look at the Relentless tower shield, not only that it will still give you the chance of dodging because the Wall is actually forbidding you dodges, the Relentless tower shield will give you the aura, which while in combat nearby allies will gain 35% armor. You will receive 20% increased incoming healing, excluding lifesteal and consumables, but your own armor will be reduced by 20%. Now of course here comes the question, is it really worth it to lose 20% of your armor, but to give 35% to your surroundings? Maybe if they are light users it's not that much, but are you gonna be surrounded with lights or mostly heavies and mediums? Another thing that we need to discuss here, and of course it's quite interesting, is that it also has a gem slot. Now correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't really remember a shield with the gem slot so far. I think that's the first. And Another thing that I'm really curious about is how will this 35% armor work? Will that be only on the physical side? Will that be also on the elemental side? How exactly it will work? So those are the things, guys. I think that it's really, brief info. Of course, probably you already saw it, but those are my 2 cents about all the artifacts. In general, to sum it up for you, I think that the only usable ones will be the medium crown, because it's gonna be a little bit better than the attuned leather pants, and most likely this tower shield here, Relentless, which will be maybe the new tower shield for all the tank players, specifically in wars, which are basically devoted to, help the sustain of the clump and to keep them alive for as long as possible. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I will try to give you some more content for New World, especially with the upcoming Season 8. We will try to renew all the different builds that we were using in the past, and I will try to update them all as much as I can. So if you want to learn the first thing, always make sure to look at my Discord, and if you are not a part of it, maybe now it's the best time to go and just join it. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as this way you will always see the videos first. Thank you once again, have a nice one, and I will see you guys in Aeternum.